Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm taking a look at Toriki, the Castaway Island from designer Wojciech Grajkowski and publisher Lucky Duck Games. This is a sort of app-assisted, find yourself stuck on a deserted island, get yourself off the island kind of game in which the app is using QR codes a la other Lucky Duck games like Chronicles of Crime, where you are using cards, only this time there's a lot more sort of physicality to the game with a map that you're moving around on, crafting that you're doing using sort of combinations of cards that you found, and ultimately a variety of missions that you go through trying to sort of survive on this island and ultimately make your escape. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of this game for this video, but as always, I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. All right, before I get started with this playthrough of Toriki, the Castaway Island, I just want to point out that this is my very first time playing this game. It is an adventure exploration kind of game, so I wanted to show you my exploration of the game as I'm playing rather than coming back to play it after I already know stuff that's going on. Also, because this is spoilery, I'm not going to be showing off everything because I don't want to give away too much. I will play through a couple of days in the game, maybe even just one if I feel like enough has happened during that time, because ultimately I plan on playing through this whole campaign with my son, and I will definitely come back after that to let you know what I thought about the entire experience. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into setup for the game. So to set up my first game of Toriki, I'm going to begin by placing out the map on the table. Next, I need to take this compass rose sort of puzzle piece, clicking that here into the corner to show the directionality of the map. You will see that there are quite a few other puzzly kind of snap-on areas that will likely expand as I play, but again, I haven't played yet, so I don't know what's coming yet. Then next, I'm going to place out the two decks of cards that don't really mean anything to me yet, but we've got the item card deck here, and you'll see it says stop, do not reveal any cards. I'm not allowed to look at any of this stuff until I get into game play. And here is the sort of mission card deck, again placing that out onto the table without looking at it or doing anything with it. Then down here in the bottom corner, I'm going to place this wildlife catalog so we have it available to us on screen. Then the camp board down here, the coin board up here. Then these food tokens I'm just going to place out here, as well as these coin tokens that we can discover as we play. And with that, we're pretty much ready for setup. The only other thing I need to put out is a meeple for myself. I'm not sure yet where I'm going to be. The available colors are red, yellow, white, and black, and I think for camera's sake, I will be using the red meeple. And with that, that is set up except that Toriki as a game uses an app, so I need to download and install the app, which I've already done on my iPad, and I'm going to do a sort of screen share so you can see what I'm doing as I play through. So loading up the app, we see the main screen of the app. I'm going to tap on New Game, and it says, Toriki. It is the 19th century. You are a group of gifted children from all around the world given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take part in a scientific expedition led by a well-known biology professor. He takes you on a cruise to Toriki, a semi-legendary remote tropical island that is said to be home to various plants and animals that can't be found anywhere else in the world. No scientist has ever visited it, and all the information about its flora and fauna are based on accounts from sailors who once ventured into these remote waters and whose credibility is much disputed. The most valuable source are the illustrations in the wildlife catalog purchased by the professor in one of London's second-hand bookstores. After several weeks at sea, you were finally close to your destination when you got caught in a terrible storm. Your ship crashed on underwater rocks, and you, using the last of your strength, swam to shore. Here's where your adventure begins. Okay. How many players? So for this video, I am playing solo, but I will ultimately end up playing probably 2-player, maybe 3 or 4 if my wife and daughter join in. So I'm going to show you a solo playthrough right now, as this is a solo channel anyway, but I will be playing through most of the campaign as a 2-player game, and I may come back and explore a little bit on my own as well. So here we're going to press 1, and then I am using the red meeple, and we'll go ahead and call ourselves Purple Moose. Why not? All right. So it says you can save the game progress by pressing the save icon in the upper left corner of the screen. The icon appears there only at points when saving is possible. Generally, it's recommended to save the game at the end of the in-game day. The app will remind you about it, which might be where I cut the video, but we'll see how it goes. A save game can be loaded by pressing Resume Last Game in the main menu. All right, here we go. The sun is still hidden behind the horizon, but in the first light of dawn, you were able to finally see the place where the night storm had brought you. You're on a tropical beach with a vast ocean to the south, jagged peaks of rocks to the west, and a dense wall of vegetation to the north and east. You are tired, hungry, and terrified about your situation. Place map module 1 on the table and put all of your meeples on location 1. Well, I've already put the map board out. Location 1 is here. So I am going to go ahead and place myself at that location. Okay. It says the professor is sitting on the sand, a grim smile on his face. Looks like we finally reached our destination, he says. This must be Toriki. There are no other islands in this part of the ocean. Bad news is, it's uninhabited and rarely visited by ships, so we are on our own here. The professor tries to get up, but suddenly falls back onto the sand with a groan of pain. Ugh, I've badly hurt my leg, he says. I'll have to stay here while you have a look around. This part of the beach seems like a good place for camping. All right. So location 1 is my main camp. It's the only place I can craft items or meet the professor to ask him for a hint about a mission. Any future improvements to the main camp made throughout the game will be marked on the camp board with special tokens. Okay. So it says, now we need to secure our survival here, continues the professor. First, you need to find at least 3 sources of food and build a shelter. So we're going to take mission 1 and 2 from the mission deck. So looking in here, we are going to find missions 1 and 2. So let's take a look at what those are up here on the camera. First one here says we need to find 3 different sources of food. And we need to figure out how to build a hut. Like that. All right, going back into the app. Okay. The good news is I've managed to save my backpack from the ship. The professor takes out a knife, an axe, a small shovel, a telescope, and 4 cans of baked beans. Take knife, axe, telescope, and shovel from the item deck, as well as 4 food from the supply. That's all we have for now, says the professor. Go now. Good luck. All right, so let me slide this out of the way. We need to find items 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are the first 4 at the bottom here. And again, that is a knife, an axe, a telescope, and a shovel. So I'm going to put those out. They're supposed to go above this board. Actually, you know what? If we switch this over here, that would work a little bit nicer. Sliding all of this stuff over. There we go. That works. So our items can go here, and we're supposed to take 4 food from the supply. So we've got 4 food. And make sure these are sort of out of the way so I don't think that they're mine. And that way we've got a little space that I can do like that to see what we've got available to us. Yeah, that works. Like that. All right, so going back into the app, we're going to tap OK. It says distribute all possessed items and food tokens among the players in any way you agree upon. Ah, right, because this is the stuff that's stored at camp. So I'm actually just going to put this off screen and we'll bring it back as needed. These are going to all be mine because, well, I'm the only one playing. So those are all mine to do with what I need to do with. And we're going to go ahead and get started playing. App says, it's your turn, Purple Moose. Well, guess what? I'm the only one playing. Okay, reminder. It's recommended that you read the text in-app out loud so all players get the information. I like reading out loud to myself all the time, especially on camera. Keep looking for visual clues both on the map and in the wildlife catalog. At any time, I can press the menu button to browse my game history, check if the players took the correct components, see my achievement progress, and then it says when instructed to take a special token from the token board, put your finger into the hole and pull. All right, so where do we want to go? So on our turn, We basically have no real goals except these two missions. There's no sort of time limit except that the day is going to progress. And that means the day is going to be 3 turns long, so regardless of where I go at the end of the day, after 3 turns, I will always come back to the campsite. There might be more campsites that we find or discover or create later on, but for right now, at the end of every day, we're coming back here. And on my turn, I'm going to go to a location, if I choose to do so, and then I'm going to perform any actions that are available at the location where I am, which means that I can move 1 space orthogonally adjacent. Well, I guess it's all orthogonally adjacent because they're hexes. 1 space adjacent to where I am. I can additionally move further spaces by spending 1 food per additional space that I move. So for example, if I wanted to run all the way up to this bush right here, I could do so by moving here for free and then 2 food to get there. And that does look like a food source. This looks like some kind of berry. This looks like some other kind of berry. This looks like maybe food as well. And potentially I could maybe eat the birds. I am looking for 3 sources of food though. And it's probably this corn-looking stuff and these 2 berry-looking things over there. I also need to build a hut, which means I probably need some materials like wood, and potentially these vines could be used as a rope. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to the trees. Back in the app then, I'm going to say that I'm at space 6. Okay. Location 6 says you are in a dense grove of shrubs with long, straight, woody stems and small leaves. The only option here available to me is to use an item. Well, I'm in a grove of shrubs with long, straight, woody stems. Let's try and cut them down with an axe. So the way that this works is I'm going to press use an item, and it's going to load up my camera. So I'm going to place that item, and I'm going to zoom into the QR code on that item, and then touch and hold the screen to do whatever that item is doing. So here it says location 6. You cut some nice straight sticks from the shrubs. Take sticks 14 from the item deck. So going back into the item deck, sticks are item 14. We now have sticks. Now, it's worth mentioning that when we are collecting items to do things, for example, build a hut, we can only ever combine 2 items. Even if we need more things to build a hut than 2 things, having more things isn't going to do anything for us. So there's no reason to try and push further to get more stuff. All right, so that's that. We press OK, and I'm still in location 6, but that is the end of my turn. So I need to press this done to clear that because it never cleared my name for whatever reason. I'm going to press end turn. Yes. Again, it's my turn because I'm the only player. Where do I want to go? Back at the map, we could come here to get some berries potentially, or we could come over here to the vines. Now, it is worth pointing out that we do have access to this wildlife catalog at all times. So looking at these blue bushes here, or these bushes that have these kind of little blue berries on them, if I look inside the wildlife book or catalog, I can see first off, hold on, these are the sort of red strawberry looking berries, the next step up. But also, if I turn to the next page, you'll see here's the blueberries, but they also seem to have some kind of potatoes growing underneath as well. But anyway, I am going to first continue trying to build that hut. So I'm going to come over here to location 8, back in the app 8. It says, towering over the beach, there's a cliff covered with long rope-like vines. The rock is so tall and smooth that you could never climb it, even if you had the necessary equipment. I'm not sure if I should use a knife or an axe here to cut these vines. An axe might be overkill, but we can try it. Overkill is not necessarily a bad thing. So again, scanning our item, touching the screen. Let me get out of there just a little bit. Here we go, and it says you cut a few vines. They're strong and flexible, so you could easily use them as a rope. Take vine 6 from the item deck. All right, so there is vine 6 from the item deck. We've got some vines. So I think, well, it's going to bring me home anyway at the end of my 3rd action. So for a second, back in the app, we are going to end our turn. It is again my turn. So let's, while we're out here, let's go to the furthest one up there. So I'm going to trash one food to move twice to get there to location number 13, 1, 3, done. It says you're surrounded by dense vegetation consisting mostly of waist-high bushes covered with red fruits. After a closer inspection, you recognize them as species 2 from the wildlife catalog. What scientific name will you give to these plants? The red rape fruits look tempting, but are they edible? There's only one way to find out. So again, here it does refer me into the catalog that I've already shown you. But here is the plant. It looks somewhat welcoming. And then down here it says name, location, and notes. So I will give it a name. I'm not going to do that right now because I am going to play this with my son and I want to wait to do that with him. Then we'll mark the location as number 13, which is where I just found it. And then we can write some notes later as we discover more about it. It says I can use an item or I can try the fruit. I think I'm going to try it to see if it is a food source. So back in the app, try the fruit. Just one tiny bite gives you serious breathing problems and makes you dizzy. You collapse onto the ground and vomit. A couple hours pass before you're able to walk again. Nausea and a terrible headache torment you for the rest of the day. I guess I shouldn't have eaten that, but good news is you can't ever die in this game, but it does say at least now you know the fruits contain an extremely strong poison. Maybe it could be of some use. So maybe I can use that later on to go hunting with or something else. But I'm going to press OK. And then I don't really need the plant, but while I'm here, I might as well try to see if maybe I can dig up the plant. Do I want to dig up the plant? We can try it. Let's see what happens. I'm going to use an item. I'm going to try and use the shovel. And I am doing this with a little bit of poor lighting. There we go. You dig up a few plants, but the roots don't seem edible or useful in any way. All right, so we don't need that. I might as well collect some poison while we're here then. Collect a few poisonous fruits, item 16 from the deck. All right, so we've got some poisonous berries. Not sure I need it for anything right at the moment, but I do have some poison. Let me test OK. And we end our turn, which is going to end the day. So it says the night falls over Toriki and you all come back to your main camp. Move all the meeples to location 1. Okay. It says if you want to end your current session, this is a good time. Would you like to save your game? I'm going to say no, because I'm going to play through one more day and then I will cancel or I will quit after that. So no for now. It says we haven't found any food yet. We need to try harder or we'll starve to death. Well, that's what we're going to try. It also says I didn't manage to build a hut, so I spend the night sleeping on bare sand. I'm lucky it's not raining. Well, let's build the hut. New day begins. We need a fire, says the professor. Unfortunately, my matches got wet, so you have to find another way to start it. Here, take some tree bark and dry grass I collected as tinder yesterday. So I'm going to take tinder from the item deck, 5. All right, so we've got tinder. Good. And we need to take mission 3 now. We are also trying to build a fire. All right, well, let's go ahead and distribute all the items and food. We're the only person. It's my turn. We are at the hut, or at the camp. I'm going to stay there. So 1. And it says, you're at the main camp. You can craft new items with materials you found or ask for hints. I'm going to craft a hut, maybe. I want to see what happens if I combine my vines and my sticks together. All right, so we are going to combine 2 items together. And the first item is vines, and the second item is sticks. And we'll see what happens. It's spinning around, and we've got a bow and arrow. Well, that's great, but it's not a camp. All right, so we're going to put the vines and sticks back into the item deck. 6 and 14 back into the deck. And now we're going to take 12. I've got a bow and arrow. Well, that's interesting if we're looking for food potentially. All right, there's nothing else for me to mix up because I don't have anything to light the tinder with, especially now that I don't have sticks. Okay. So we are going to end our turn and we're going to go looking for some food. Let's see if we can shoot those birds with the arrow. Going to number 4. This part of the beach is almost completely empty. The sound of crashing waves mixes with the high-pitched squeaks of the orange-feathered birds flying over your head. As one of them sits on a nearby rock, you realize it's the species 7 from the wildlife catalog. Again, I'm not going to name it. It says I should name it. But looking at that, we've got this bird right here. I'm not sure it looks delicious, but it could be food. Let's see what happens. I'm going to try and shoot it with a bow and arrow. Scanning the bow. It says it's an effective weapon even against such agile creatures as this bird. It's been a successful hunt. Take 2 food. Yay. And I did find 1 new source of food. Great. So we're going to end our turn. It's my turn again. I'm going to go to 9 and hope that those berries are not as poisonous as the other ones. So going to 9. Whole area is covered with small plants growing side by side. They look like species 3 from the wildlife catalog. Will you give this a plant a scientific name right away, or will you try to learn about it first? Each plant bears a couple of blue juicy fruits. Are they edible? There's only one way to find out. Well, we didn't have a great luck with the last ones, but maybe this one will be better. Again, looking at them in the catalog, we saw this before, I showed it to you before. There are what look like potatoes growing underneath that bush as well. So this might be multiple sources of food. So first things first, I'm going to try the fruits. I'm being brave again. I know I can't die in this game. Go. You try some fruits and they taste great. Awesome. 2 hours after eating them, you still feel fine. So it looks like you can add them to your Castaway diet. Take a food. Good. Congratulations, you found a new source of food. And while we're here, I'm going to dig with the shovel to see what happens there as well. Using an item, scanning in that shovel. You dig up a few plants and find they have bulky, starchy roots. They're a bit bitter, but nutritious. Take a food. I think that's my 3rd food source. Go. Yay, it is. We're going to end our turn, which is the end of the 2nd day. This is where we're going to stop. But I think that means we may have finished our 3 sources of food. All right, ending our turn. Yes. Congratulations, you found the 3rd source of food for your group. You don't need to worry about starving to death. But if you want to travel further inland, you'll need more. Try finding 3 more sources for a total of 6. So I've completed mission 1, put it into the box, and take mission 4 from the mission deck, which says, haha, find 3 more sources of food for 6 in total. Okay, the night falls over Toriki, you come back to your camp, everybody's back here again. Yes, I'm going to end my game, and let me show you how the save system works in this game. Pressing yes, I'm going to enter my current location, which is at the camp. Okay. Do I want to end the current session and exit to the main menu? Yes. Now remember, I didn't show this to you in there, but actually let me click now. If I press resume last game, so you can see how it works, it tells me here my meeple is in location 1. And it says for instructions on where to put the individual tokens on the camp board, coin, and so on, I'm going to go into the menu. Because, and we do have 3 sources of food, we didn't get a hut, a new day begins, distribute the items, it's my turn. I'm not going to keep playing, but I want to show you this menu. There are a couple of things. First one is a history. And this just shows you I can scroll back and see all of the different messages I've seen all the way back to the beginning of the game. Another thing I want to show you here is this. This is a list of all of the stuff that I've got. So it shows that I've finished, or that I have map 1. I've got a knife and axe, a telescope, a shovel, tinder, bow and arrows, and poison. It says that which missions I've had, which missions I've collected. There's no special tokens, no coins. And then there's one more thing in here I want to show you before I shut out of the app, is this achievements. There are additional achievements you can play. These have no sort of connection to gameplay whatsoever. These are just sort of fun things for you to try and do. So for example, here you see fisher, catch 3 different types of fish, explorer, visit every location, diver, dive in every location, vegan, find all the plant-based sources of food, and so on. I don't want to show any more in case there's more Spoilers, I think that's all that I can see for right now anyway. But then coming back out of the app, the other one thing I do want to show you is this coin board, because I didn't do anything with it in gameplay. Somewhere on the island, in 9 different locations, there are coins that we need to discover. And again, this is not connected to the story at all. This is sort of like a side mission thing, sort of a finding items kind of collection mission like you might have in a video game. And you have to find these locations based on the pictures that you see in them. And then, I guess, dig or do whatever you need to do to find the coin in each of those 9 places. Because at the end of this game, after I've managed to explore the whole island and ultimately escape from the island, I will be given a score based on how much of the sort of main missions, how many of the side missions I've done. Every time I use a hint from the professor at the camp, I will lose a little bit of points. And then if I can find coins, I will also gain more points. But that's basically all I'm going to show you for right now. I don't want to spoil anything more. I did show you a little bit of the wildlife catalog. I do love the way that the map is looking. Each of the different items is very well drawn and very easy to understand what it is. The look of the game is great. There are some other things hidden in the box, or other meeples and things that I'm not going to show you. The box itself is just this sort of wooden trough. But some other things that I will show you that do come in there without explaining what they are. There is this double-sided punch board that you can kind of reach into and pull items out of. 1 to 10 on one side and 11 to 19 on the other side. So there are a bunch of things that we're going to be able to sort of explore and find and change up the game in different ways. And I'm excited to see how that plays out as we get into it. In addition to that, there are also 3 more envelopes that clearly contain more of the map that we're going to find as we explore. But again, everything says do not open, do not look, do not anything until the app tells you to do it. And the last thing that makes me somewhat excited is this little letter with a nice skull and crossbones on the back that says the diary. And again, I can't open this until the app tells me to. But I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to play through the entire game with my son. It says it takes about 6 to 8 hours, so it shouldn't be too long an experience. I will play through the entire rest of the game with my son, and then I will come back, which will be right now for all of you, to let you know how I felt about the entire experience. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. As I promised in the video, I did play through the entire campaign or the entire story with my 6-year-old son. And occasionally, actually, my 4-year-old daughter also joined in with us. But then after we were done, I passed the game off to my sister, who also played the game with her 6-year-old and 10-year-old sons, one of whom is Wyatt. If you've watched any of my kids' videos, you have seen him pop up a couple of times. So before I let you know what I think about the game, let's kick over to Wyatt and hear what he thinks about the whole experience. Hey, Wyatt.
Hey!
How are you today?
You're amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so today we are talking about Toriki.
Yippee!
All right, what is Toriki? Tell us all about this game.
It's basically like you're stranded on an island and you just survive.
Uh-huh. But what does that mean? So you're basically a bunch of kids, I think, who got stranded on an island, right?
I don't know about kids, but I think so.
I think you're a bunch of kids and like a professor or something who got trapped on an island. So the main goal is to escape from the island.
Yes, the main goal.
But sort of, what are you doing? How does this game work?
So it's basically like kind of like you expand like your land sort of thing. Like each different space have like something in it, like food or helpful things that can help you expand, or a piece of the story.
Good. So there's lots of different. So it's basically a map that you're exploring, right? You're moving space by space around the map. Do you know what's going to be in each of those spaces when you go there?
I mean, not if like you're going there the second time. No. But like a new space, no, you don't.
Right. You don't know what's there. So you're exploring this island that you've never been to before, checking out the different spaces to see sort of what you're going to find when you get to those places, right? But how do you do that? So there is a map.
Yes.
And you're moving your pieces around the map.
Yeah.
What happens when you get to a location?
You can either like use one of the tools that you have to do something, or you can just leave.
Okay, but at the beginning of the game we don't have any tools. Can we do that?
at the beginning of the game, you do get like a couple of tools.
Okay. So you get a couple of small
You
things.
get
at the beginning of the
you
game.
get a knife, an axe, and I think a telescope. Yeah.
Okay. So you're wandering around with this axe and this knife. So what are you using these for, sort of in general? We don't want to talk about too much specific, but sort of in general, what are you doing with them?
Just to get things that are used to do stuff or food.
Right. Food is important.
Yes, food is very important.
What do we do with food in the game?
Eat.
Yeah, but we don't really just eat it. We don't really get hungry in the game, right? What is the food used for in the game?
The food is used for moving spaces.
Okay, good. So you need to spend food to move further around on the island. So if you don't have any food, you can't move around, right? And so you might be using these tools to find food, sources of food in these different locations. But also, what else are you doing with these things?
Mostly just like harvesting things that are used to craft items.
Okay. So that's what we're talking about, crafting then.
Yeah.
How does this crafting work?
So it's basically like you get 2 items.
Mm-hmm.
You go to like your base camp where you can do everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use the 2 items to craft stuff. Some stuff is used to like help you like. I don't want to give anything too specific, like the
Anyway, we'll cut that part out. That's okay. We don't need to talk about specifics. But right, so you're finding different things and coming back to camp, and you're putting them together to make new things that help you do new things, right?
Yes, or you can get stuff that like allows you to go into new locations.
Right. Okay, so there might be new ways that you can get around or new places that you can go because you've gotten things. That's true. Or new things that might happen in the story, right? So let's talk about that, because we're missing one big piece of the game. We've talked about the map, we've talked about items, we've talked about moving around on the map, and all of that is kind of like a regular board game, right? They're all things that you're touching or playing with and moving, right? But there's one more big piece of the game that we haven't talked about yet.
The story.
Story, but not story. There's one more big thing that we're interacting with in the game. How does the game work? How do I craft these items?
Dang.
Do you remember?
No.
The big thing that we're missing in this game, and you probably will remember as soon as I say it, there's an app, right? You had to use a phone or an iPad or something when you played this game, right? Well, tell us something about that. How does that work?
Well, it's mostly like there's like an app that's used for like the crafting, and each like little card that has like the thing on it. They have a QR code that you scan, and then it just tells you what you can do with it, or what you can do with it.
Right, and the crafting is the same way, right? So you scan the QR code of 2 things, and it might become something new. Right. All right. So
or it doesn't.
So the app is mostly where the game is played, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to these locations and you're doing something inside the app, clicking on something in the app.
Yes.
So the game is mostly happening in the app, but you're using these sort of physical things as part of the game, right?
Oh yeah, the app also tells you like what you can do on those spaces.
That's right, and the options, what actions you can take, and so on, right? How do you feel about the app?
Well, the app is cool. I think it differs from the other board games. Like they have like an instruction manual that tells you everything. Like a big booklet, giant book. But the app I think is cool because it just differs from your Dungeons and Dragons or your other board games. Yeah.
So the app is cool because you don't have to sort of prepare before.
Yes.
You're inside the story as you're playing, right? Have you ever played any other games that have apps?
I think I have, but we never finished it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that game was?
Absolutely. I think it was like some sort of like magical thing.
Okay. So there are definitely other games that have apps. Do you think that apps are a good thing? I know some people complain that if it's an app, then why is it a board game? You could just play a video game instead. Does this still feel like a board game that you're playing?
I feel like it's more of a... It's still a board game to me. Yeah, a fun board game too.
What makes it feel like a board game instead of just a video
but like
game?
there's like pieces and like you have to like problem solve.
Okay, so let's talk more about this problem solving. You said that on the island we're going to different locations and we're sort of exploring those locations and taking actions in those locations, using items in those locations, right? But is there anything in the game that sort of gives us an idea about what we might need to do or where we might need to go or where we might find the things that we need to find?
Oh, there is. I think I have to talk about this.
Yes.
There's like a letter that there's like a little quest.
Okay, so
to
there
get
are
rid
some.
of, and that letter tells you, oh, this thing gives you the thing to. But it doesn't really give a name for it. It just tells you what it looks like.
Ah, okay.
So you have to like find around and like look. Oh, does this thing look like it? Does this thing,
right.
Does this thing look like this stuff? It says in the letter. Yeah.
So I want to pull back from the letter a little bit because that letter is a surprise. But there are different ways in this game that they sort of give you hints about things that you should be trying to do without telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But there's something else big in the book that helps you figure out those hints. Do you remember what that was? There was one more thing in the box that came with the game.
The quest lines? Are we talking about that now?
Well, the quests were cards, right?
Yeah,
There are definitely cards that give you specific quests you need to do, right?
Yes.
Find a source of food, or find this kind of tool, or...
Find or get this thing.
I mean, ultimately, the end of the game is to try and escape the island. That's a quest as well. So there are lots of these quests that you have to sort of find this thing, or do this thing, or get this thing. And those are all cards that you get as you explore the island. But there's one more big thing in the box. I don't know if you remember, there's a book in the box.
The Animal Exploration Guide.
Yeah, so tell us something about this book. Do you remember the book?
See, some pizza thing. I said pizza. Some of like the cards where you move around have animals on it. It's like, go look in this book, and everything of one of that has a little I should say like animal in it. And like as you look around, oh, this thing is this, but none of them have names. That's where you come up with a name.
That's true. So there's another piece of the game that we haven't even talked about, is that while you're exploring things, you're discovering new creatures and new plants, and you're writing things in your journal to sort of describe them.
So like you can give it a name, like for example, giant frog. You can name it like Big Toad or something like that. And then like under it you can give it like a summary like spits poison acid or something like that.
But also in that book there are a bunch of different plants in there, right?
Yeah.
And I think the pictures in that book are sort of helpful for some of the quests. Is that true? Tell me more about that if you can.
Yeah, in the Animal Exploration Guide there's also plants that like, hey, this plant right here looks like a food source. Maybe if we can find it on the game, maybe it can be a food source.
And can you find some of those pictures from the book maybe on the map that you're moving around as well?
Absolutely. That's the whole thing of the Animal Guide.
Right. So we've got a little bit of sort of hints of information in this book that are going to sort of help us explore this island and look for ways to build things that eventually will let us get off the island, right? Yeah. So you said you've enjoyed the game, you said you enjoyed the app. How do you feel about sort of this animal guide, this plant guide, the sort of world or the universe that you're playing in? Is it a fun place to play in?
I've always been interested in like the crafting and like you're stranded on an island, what do you do? I've always been interested in that. I wouldn't want to be stranded on an island myself, though, obviously. Yeah, that always been interests me. But now they made a board game about that, I'm hooked.
Yeah, good. So it does feel like then that's what's actually happening while you're playing the game. Yeah. You get pulled into that story.
Yeah.
You mentioned also, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it might get into some spoiler stuff, but you mentioned pirates. There's one more small thing about this game, and I don't know if you did much of it, but there's another sort of thing that you can find while you're playing this game. Did you guys get a chance to play that part?
Yeah, actually.
So there were some coins that are scattered around, right? Talk to me something about those coins that are scattered around.
So like when you like get in something, you make the shiny thing. Ooh, it's a coin. And there's a little pamphlet that has a bunch of coins that are like, for example, there's a coin near like a swamp. And if you go to the swamp, oh, you found a coin.
Right, but it's not that easy, right?
Yeah,
The
no.
pamphlet that you're talking about, the piece of paper or the page, has a bunch of different pictures.
Yes.
And each of those pictures is sort of giving you a hint to where those coins are located. And even when you get to that location, you often have to figure out where is the coin. You may have to dig, you may have to climb, you may have to do something special to find that hidden coin, right? Did you guys find some of those coins?
I think we found like 6.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. I think I managed to find them all at the end when I was playing with Anta, but yeah, that was a fun exploration piece too, because it's an extra sort of find a hidden picture kind of exploration in the game as well. Did you like that piece of the game?
I loved it.
Oh, good, good. So, if you were going to recommend this game to somebody, what kind of person or what kind of games should a person enjoy that would enjoy this game?
I feel like the people who would enjoy this game are like kind of like me, who like the like Minecraft stuff. Or just people who like games with apps.
Okay, good. So the app thing is fun, right? The exploration piece is fun. The crafting piece is fun.
Yeah, basically like everything.
Was there anything negative? Was there anything that bothered you about the game?
Yeah, we never got all the quests because we were stuck on and we just didn't feel like doing it, so we just left the island.
Yeah, but that's something that's interesting to talk about, is that, like you said, you didn't finish all of the small quests.
Yes.
But you were able to complete the game. You managed to escape the island and finish the game.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, both maybe a positive and a negative. It's a negative because it means you didn't get a chance to see some of the game.
Yeah.
But it's also a positive because it means that there's more stuff in the game that you don't have to do, but is fun. Like looking for the coins is an optional thing.
Yeah, you don't have to do, but you could do.
Right. Was that did that feel bad when you finished the game before you finished the small quests?
Not really, no.
No, okay.
Yeah. I just really wanted to just kind of. We've been playing this for like 2 days, and I kind of just wanted to get it over with.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you had a good time along the way. I could tell that from the way you talked about it. Yeah. So you were excited that when you got to the end and found the way to escape, that it was finally you could escape and get off the island, right? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I also kind of think like the creatures that are cute. I also the big mystery element is great.
Yeah, it's really cool. What do you think about the map and how the map sort of grows and changes as you play?
Yeah, I like that because like one moment like oh you need to do this to get across. So you do it. Oh, this thing, something changes. You can do that.
Right, and that's something we should talk about with the app too. Something unique about the app is that when you go to a location every time, it might be different because of things you did that changed the game in some way, right?
Yeah.
And then also some of the tools that you're using will allow you to do different things in those locations than you could before. Good. So it sounds to me like you enjoyed the game. Is there anything else you want to say about the game and what was fun about the game?
Not really, no. I just missed my chance to talk about the pirates and how much I love the mystery.
Well, you could talk. Oh, you did that already? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you, Wyatt. I'm glad you enjoyed the game. And anything else you want to say before we go?
Play Toriki. It's fun.
Well, thank you. Thanks again, Wyatt.
Bye.
Thanks, Wyatt. It sounds like you had quite a good time with this game, and I have to say, so did we. I had a blast playing this game, and I'm going to say this right now. This may be the best sort of app-assisted game that Lucky Duck has done so far. This is sort of finally hitting the perfect balance of board game and app as far as this style of app-assisted co-op game can go. I have played several of the Chronicles of Crime games, and while I did enjoy the sort of induction, deduction, puzzle solving, crime solving stuff in there, it did always feel very app heavy. And games like Destiny's, where it did bring in dice rolling and it did bring in a map, still felt like it could have been played simply in an app as an app game. And this game changes that up because this game really does bring in that physicality. There is a real map that you are moving around, and it's not just that you're moving around the map, but the map actually means something. Because in this game, ultimately, you're trying to sort of build up your camp, trying to discover the island, trying to sort of build up your survival abilities, making tools, finding food, and ultimately trying to find a way to escape this island. But The island is a physical thing in this game, and it's not just looking at pictures on the iPad. It's not just clicking buttons and seeing what happens. The map itself means something because, as Wyatt showed you, and I'm going to explain again right now, you've got this field guide. And inside this field guide, there's a variety of different plants and animals that you are going to find on the island, but you don't necessarily know where, and you don't necessarily know what they are or what they're good for and so on. But you can use the map. If you see something on the map, it's likely that that thing means something. It means that you can go to that place and interact with that thing, which is great because it doesn't mean I'm staring at a screen the whole time. I am looking at the map. I am planning. I am trying to figure things out. And that goes one step further with some of the sort of exploration kind of stuff in the game. Wyatt mentioned the coins, and my son and I did get all 9 of the coins, I believe 9. Got all 9 of the coins in this game, and that's another thing that sort of pushes you to use the physical components. Because you've got this sort of page, and I showed that to you in the overview, that shows little glimpses or like a snapshot of a place. But that's all you need, that's all you know. And then as you're playing through and as you're looking at the map and ultimately as you're expanding the map through a variety of different ways, you start seeing things that might potentially look like the picture that you see on that coin page. And then you start thinking about, well, it looks like the coin might be down here or over here once I've gotten to that place. So in order to do that, I should go here or climb here or dig here or do this thing to try and find that coin. So it really brings in more of the physicality. Also, I already mentioned it, but I should talk specifically about it. That field guide is gorgeous. It really feels like an actual artifact that you might have were you given sort of this journal of notes from some scientist that had explored an island that you were headed to. So it physically feels like I'm interacting with the world, pulling me further into the game. Same thing with, there is a letter that Wyatt mentioned in his overview just now that is in the box. You know it's in the box, so it's not a complete spoiler, but I don't want to say anything more about what it is. But again, another physical artifact that ties you and pulls you into the game. You also saw that sort of double-sided punch board thing. Well, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I don't want to spoil the game. But there are things that happen. There are things that you find. There are things that you build. There are new things that you discover. The map will change based on things that you're doing. And that means that the physicality of the map might change based on things that you're doing or things that you've explored. And that's very exciting that there is this physical piece to the game. So then why the app? Could this have been just a physical board game? Kind of, but not really, because it would need a big book to sort of do all of the things that the app is doing, at least. For example, the crafting. The crafting in this game is really, really cool. You find some items, you think, well, I could probably combine this and this to make this thing. So you go back to camp and you scan the QR code and you scan the QR code, and the app does the work of deciding, okay, well, this thing becomes this, or this thing doesn't do anything. And you could do that in a book with a system of look up this code, look up this code. It gives you a code, read that code and see what happens. But it's not as immediate. A kid's not going to enjoy that as much as they enjoy just pushing a button and watching it spin and pop-on, you've got this thing that came out. And that's exciting, and it's fun to see that in the app. Also, I said some of the locations in the map might change or upgrade or something might happen based on something that's happened there before or new ways to interact with that same thing. And to do that with a book would be tricky. You'd have to have a list of keywords that you're checking and so on. And you could do it, and it has been done in other games. But again, this is a family weight game aimed at kids particularly. And the kid's not going to want to have to check keywords and look for this, and if this, then go there, and if this, then go there. Instead, the app does all of that for you. When you get to a place, it remembers what's been done there before, and it tells you the story of the sort of current situation of that location. And it really makes the game feel like this island is alive and what you're doing really means things. And the puzzles in this game, just stepping away from the app and the physicality for a second, the puzzles in this game were a lot of fun. It was really fun to explore this island, to find new things, to think about how I could get things done that I needed to get done, because the game does give you cards that are sort of missions you need to achieve. So it's not like you're just randomly wandering around. There are things that you're trying to get done sort of the entire time you're playing, always with that goal in the back of your head that you need to get off of this island. And it's really fun to sort of discover something and say, hey, I bet we could do this with that thing. Or, hey, if I had this and this, then we could probably make this happen. And thinking about all of those things really does make for a fun puzzle, and it really does make for a nice cooperative experience. And it really does work at all levels. I told you I played with a 6-year-old son and my 4-year-old daughter. I think she was actually 3 at the time when we were playing this. And he got really into it, and he's a gamer, and he plays lots of games with me. So even if it's a little crunchier, he can get into it. But she tends to lose interest pretty quickly. But she played this a lot with us because we could work as a team. We could discuss things with each other. And there is a story going on, and it's visually interesting, and it's fun to move around, and it's just fun to tinker with the game, even if you can't solve the puzzles on your own. You as a team can get things done, and then everybody sort of shares in that sense of accomplishment. And I appreciate that that happens in this game. There's lots of hidden kind of stuff with those coins and other things to find. Wyatt mentioned that some of the missions he didn't complete before escaping from the island, and that's interesting to me because that means there is more to the exploration. It really does mean something that you're searching for things and trying to figure things out, because you may not necessarily get everything done by the end. It's not just a linear path that you're following. There are things that you have to think about. And then on top of that, there are coins to find. And then on top of that, in the app you saw I showed you, there are a variety of sort of accomplishments you can get that have nothing to do with the story. It just gives you an extra something to play around with in the world while you're trying to get the other stuff done. Hey, there's a new fish, I should try and catch it. Hey, we haven't been to that spot yet, let's go over there and see what's going on. And it pushes you to do everything, but you don't have to. You can complete the story without taking the time to do all of that. So if you've got a kid who doesn't have the attention span and doesn't want to find every fish and doesn't want to turn over every rock, you don't have to. And you still get the nice, satisfying experience of that story playing out. And I had a blast. Now, if there's anything negative at all about the game, maybe the movement system with the food can get a little bit iffy. You are spending food to travel. Now, there are certain things throughout the game where you find new camps and so on, so you don't always come back to the original camp, and you don't always have to walk real far on every turn. But remember, every day is basically 3 turns, if I'm remembering it correctly. And if you don't have a lot of food and you don't start at a different place, you're going to keep going and coming back and going and coming back. And it might get a little tedious to get to the places you want to. There are things that help with some of that movement. Unfortunately, at least in my experience, that came in a little bit later in the game than I would have liked it to come in, just because of the way that we explored and the order that we did things in. But it didn't kill the experience for me. I didn't hate it, and we did follow the movement rules all of the time. But there are certain things, like if you're playing with more than one player or more than one character, each person has whatever item they're carrying. And if you get to a location and realize you need an item that somebody else has, you have to figure out a way to make it to the spot where they are, or meet in the middle somewhere to exchange items, and then come all the way back to where you were to use that item again. And that can get tedious if you realize and you're far, far away and you want that item and you've got to go all the way back and come back again. And all it means is you're sort of cycling the days, because there's no like end game timer. You're not like gonna die because you took too long. So this sort of movement piece to the game may be a little heavy-handed, and Wyatt did mention to me off camera that when he played with his family, I don't know if they didn't pay attention to the rule or they didn't even notice the rule, but they were just trading cards regardless of where they were on the map, and he still had a great time with it. So if that movement thing bothers you, don't let it. You can sort of house rule your way past it. But for me, we still played through it that way because that was the game, the way the game's intended to be played. And it's not broken that way. It just does add more sort of time of this sort of survival, walking around, exploring kind of thing. But if you're smart about it, you can get other things done while you're doing that, and use that time to search for things, and use that time to try other things along the way. So it's not a full-on negative. I just want to point that out because that was the only small little nitpick I had with the game. Otherwise, we had a blast with it. And again, I love the balance of the app and the board game piece here, and I would love to see more in this sort of path coming from Lucky Duck, especially kid-focused, narrative-heavy kinds of games like this that do use so many physical components in them. Big fan of this. Very excited to see what's coming in this sort of app-driven space from Lucky Duck, both for adults and for kids in the future. That's basically all I have to say about this one. I hope that this video was helpful for you. As always, if you did enjoy this video, I do ask that you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.